Was once swimming, once diving, was not eliminated. The spring track and field was once track and once field for supervision reasons, was not eliminated. And there are 2 assistant football coaches. Only 1 is being eliminated. Other than that, I believe all of them.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes, either Dr. Sharp or Mr. Belmonte, whoever wants to answer. You say through concession from all of the units, which is all of the employees in Salem that are entitled to benefits?
Every employee that receives health insurance in Salem.
Okay. You say this is a short-term fix. Can you explain why it won't be in perpetuity a constant savings?
The option to change to, our current healthcare plan happens to be a little more expensive than the one we're moving to. However, these plans shift in cost. Ours just went down last year. It tends to be right now in a downward trend. The one we're moving to has a slight increased trend. So at some point, they will meet and perhaps change positions.
Mrs. Dawn.
Excuse me, I have a call. One of the areas that, can you hear me if you can? I'm sorry. One of the areas that I have great concern about is our summer school, secondary summer school program. These students have failed in the long run. They're going to go back to school the following year to get their diploma. Is that going to create more of a financial burden in the future? Secondly, on the assistant coaches, what about the middle school level when we have, for instance, football, you have 70 or 80 kids coming out for the team, you have 1 coach. Isn't that a health and safety issue?
We didn't touch the middle school coaches. For that reason, there's really only 4 middle school assistant coaches, and total $16,000 is really not, for the amount of kids that they supervise and they are involved with. They create no-cut sports in lacrosse, boys and girls, football, and wrestling. And those are the only 4. So they were not touched.
What about our summer school program for the students that have difficulty during the year passing?
The summer school students, if they need to be remediated, will have an opportunity for the parents to send them to Connecticut through BOCES programs or Patchogue, but it will be on a tuition basis. And those courses run roughly $400 each. From the $3 that they would spend if they were here.
Any other input from board members?
I'm also concerned about the summer school because this is basically like a last chance opportunity for these students, and I would employ to try and find another way rather than cut that program.
I feel that, by having these concessions, it's a great thing. The rest of that $583,000 is a lot of money, but it's a huge part of our program. That would be great to hold on to, along with these concessions. By affecting, I say, this tremendously affects the kids. Losing a teacher, losing coaches, losing summer school. Now, $583,000 won't get us under the cap. It's going to get us real close. Because of that cap, that arbitrary number, we're scared. We're going to go with this. Maybe. I don't know. But it hurts me that we would do that. Looking at this, $583,000 right now, that we as a community can't collectively come together and find the importance of this. That's all I have to say.
Any other input from board members? I share Keith's sentiments, and the decision this board made was going to be hard and difficult. We've worked many, many, many years to try to get where we're at. The concessions that we received certainly played a significant role in this. I'd like to publicly thank all those bargaining units for doing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Over the past few weeks, there's been a lot of passion about our students, our teachers, our community. This board, our administrators, heard what you had to say, and we're trying to do the best we can with the resources we have. This is a good budget. We really, really appreciate your support. We really, really appreciate the emails, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It helped your community, your neighbors. These are our kids. We will do the best thing we possibly can for them to continue the level of education that they have. I appreciate you all coming. I really do. I'm glad to see so many faces, so many elementary parents, so many high school parents, just so many community members coming out to the meeting. We may at times not agree with everything, but we have to agree. Sable is a fantastic community in which to raise your kids and educate your kids. Now I'm going to have Dr. Shartner talk about something that we don't want to be at, and that's our austerity budget.
The austerity budget is not pretty. We'd have to cut about $700,000 more. You wouldn't get any rebate checks. The use of any facilities would have to be on a pay-for-use basis. So, for instance, Little League using any of our baseball fields, they would have to rent them, pay for custodial services, etc., as well as any gyms or any facilities within the district. And there's reductions across the board. We would be revisiting some of the things that you're here for that you don't want. Obviously, some of that would have to be revisited to find that $700,000. So, let's hope we don't get there and you really don't want to get there for the benefit of our students and the benefit of this community and the value of your community.
Any other input from any board members before we open it to public session? No. If any community member would like to speak, I think there's some... hold on one second. We have a portable mic. We also have a mic. Can you all hear me in the back? We also have a mic in the corner, if you like. So please, if you have questions or concerns, please step up to the mic, state your name. If you'd like to sit where you're at. Please state your name for the record.
Hi. Dan McNevin. I'm a resident. I don't need this thing. You guys can hear me? Good. I want to hear a board member justify to me how they can keep the administrative increases and yet decrease the I want to know what is the administration going to be doing for us next year that they're not already doing for us this year and last year. Okay? I don't understand this imbalance, this 900 grand increase in administrative costs, yet student services and student program is only increased $843. Now, it smells of greed and it smells, please, tell me about this. I'm looking at business office, 5.5%. I'm looking at the principal's office, 15%. I'm looking at an increase of 10%. I don't understand how you can trade off the student program for the administrative costs. Thank you.
First, I want to let you know we haven't cut any large programs for our students. That's what came out if you were listening before. Secondly, our administrators have taken the same freezes as everyone else in the district. They've taken hard freezes. And thirdly, excuse me, don't interrupt me. Thirdly, there have been increased costs. Our administrative costs are for clerical, for other things other than their salaries, which you don't really realize. So if you came to meetings, and Mr. McNevin, you've come previously, you know, it's much different.
I don't understand how this keeps growing, and yet the student population...
Hey, what about your LIPA bill, or should I say PSE&G? That keeps growing too.
Yes, you're right. That should be, that increase. Okay? But to give indescriptive budget stuff, you can't really put a pinpoint as to what is being increased, okay? That's very nice that you have administration and you have categories that you're increasing. There's no salary increases, there's no indication as to what these increases are.
If you want to answer that question, Mr. Belmonte, you can reach out to his office.
All line by line information is available.
I can't.
I said all line-by-line information is available by calling the business office.
Well, I went on the internet looking for the budget to see what the breakdown on those budgets.
It's all
You
here.
want me to come in the office and request that and then have to pay $150 for a copy or what?
I can show you where this is online.
Sorry?
I can show you where this is online.
The whole thing's online.
The whole thing is online.
The
The whole budget book is online.
Any additional questions, please step up to the... We have one over here, and we have one over there. We're going to take one on the left, and we'll get to you in a minute.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Schardner. Again, to all the people who are here, appreciate everybody coming out. I am an accountant, I'm a CPA. I did go online and I did find the budget book and I was able to go through it. And I actually found a $1.1 million worth of cuts without having to cut any of the programs you discussed earlier. And very briefly, I'll go through it very quickly. It was 3 basic items. The first one, the FICA, which is Social Security insurance. There's about $100,000 of savings in that. If you just do 7.65%, multiply that by the total salaries, your budget is more than what you need. That was approximately $100,000. Secondly, the TAN, which stands for the Tax Anticipation Note. You guys issued that in November, paid off in June. I'm not going to get into the details as to why you paid off in June and all your tax money is received by the end of May, but the budget has $270,000 for that. A $9 million TAN, which is what you issued last year, at roughly 0.5%, is about $25,000 worth of interest. So again, just using those numbers, there's another $225,000 worth of savings. Lastly, this is for the teachers as well as for the employees' retirement system. The state a couple years ago enacted a smoothing for the contribution. I don't believe the district has enrolled into that plan. The plan would save, on average, somewhere between 2 to 4% of the contribution, which again, based on very simplistic math that I did, I don't have all the breakdown as to who's involved in the retirement systems, but that could be anywhere between $700,000 to another $1.1 million. That's without cutting any programs, that's without the Princeton plan, that's without instituting anything. Doesn't impact any of the services that any of the students receive right now. And those are things that the district can do right now as well. I'm sorry, for the record, my name is Joseph Ludwig. I apologize for that. So obviously, Mr. Belmonte, I know, I didn't mean to spring this on you now. Obviously, you'll do your research, you'll take a look at it, but it was just things that I happened to see going through the budget.
Okay, well, there was a couple of things that I would like to respond to,
sure,
if I may. First and foremost, the budget is I wish it was as simple as that. But let me start with the first item. When you look at our FICA line, it's not as simple as taking the salaries and multiplying it by 7.65%. That would be too easy. There's other things in there as far as declination, as far as when we pay out retirement benefits, and other things that's associated with FICA as well. So there's other FICA costs related to that, and there's also Medicare, and that's the portion of the Medicare cost. And I don't know how many people realize that when you work for a public system, that if you and your spouse, once you turn 65, that the district has to reimburse you that $1,200 of Medicare Part B that comes out of your Social Security. That's in our Social Security line as well.
I do believe you have that budgeted separately, not part of the FICA line.
Well, it's all part of Social Security.
But the FICA line, the Social Security line, and I do understand I am the controller for the town of Islip. Okay. I've been putting budgets together for 5 years. But just as I know you've done it for a long time as well, I've been putting these budgets together, and it is, for FICA, it is that simple. Salaries times 7.65%. It's the most simplistic formula you come up with. It's the easiest line in the budget to come up with.
Well, if you would like to come by my office, I'd be happy to spend some time with you and go through
I'd be more than happy to help, yeah.
The areas.
Absolutely.
We have a gentleman over here. Jen, right behind you, Jen.
Nobody can hear him.
I've been here for about 50 years.
Somebody bring him a mic that the people need to.
Can you hear me now? My name is Harry Ellis. I'm a resident here for about 50 years right now. I'm listening to, let me say this too. I'm a strong favor of, at my age, that I still support. I still think that I have a responsibility, my wife has a responsibility to support our children. Can't strike away from that. But I think the major problem on all these budgets, and it goes back to the 70s, and I ran for the school board back in the 70s, early 80s, has been the union contracts. The union contracts are absolutely killing everybody. Okay? Now, you go back into recent news about Wisconsin. They set a priority that when they come in and they negotiate for a teacher's position, they negotiate a salary. They don't negotiate medical costs and pensions and other fringe benefits. They're fixed. If the application for the job, applicant for the job does micro fringe benefits, he goes somewhere else. They negotiate a salary. So this idea of having the negotiate, Mr. Monty over there. I had a meeting with him 2 years ago, and we were going to increase the participation of the administration or the teachers for their medical insurance. And it was going to be an increase of 20%. Well, we got 2. These unions and the unions all over are killing us. And that's what the tax problem is in this town. It's been like that forever. We can't seem to get over it. I don't know who negotiates for the board, but I can see the union have been there, professional negotiators from India, and we got a problem. That's my feeling. But that's where the problem is. 66% of our budget is in the union contracts.
By the end of the teacher's contract right now, it's going up to 20% healthcare contribution. So they did address that.
All right, so what I'm saying is, I'll get off the mic here. People don't want to hear me, I'm sure. But we need some consolidation to counteract some other parts of the budget. And that's all we're asking. Give us the consolidation in jobs, in secretaries, in clerical help, in executive positions. Give us some help there so we can counteract what we're getting from unions, which we don't seem to have a handle on.
Are you in favor of consolidating the pay for it? I mean, that would be perfect consolidation.
I'm sorry?
Consolidate the pay for it. Is that what you're saying?
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jen Mormon. The first thing I want to do is commend the board and Dr. Shartner, for finding that $500,000, even though it is a short-term fix. And then I have one question, and then I have some suggestions, and Mrs. Dimitri will be passing out what I have in my hand, so this way you don't have to memorize it or write it all down. My first question is, has the board approached any of the union reps to take any concessions for this year? I know that they're not up for negotiation for another 2 years, but that doesn't mean we can't approach them. Has that been done since the budget failed?
That's how we got concessions.
But you got concessions from the health insurance from the employees?
All employees across the board.
They're willing to take a new insurance policy, what does that mean? Do they get less benefits for the $500,000 savings?
There is some changes in benefits, yes.
Are there less benefits? Changes doesn't mean less benefits, it just means they can be getting the same
There are less than the current plan we have.
I'm sorry?
There are less than the current plan we have.
Okay. So my suggestions include, which my suggestions originally were to not have the Princeton plan, but they could be applied to saving the other $700,000 or $500,000 that we need, so we don't have to cut anything. One of them being, enrollment. There is another class besides the one class, I think, in Lincoln that can be consolidated. It's from 4 classes to 3, even though maybe is. Okay, not according. Okay, well, I'll have to double check my numbers, but I don't think so. There's a first grade in Lincoln, current first grade in Lincoln has 4 classes, and current second grade classes in Lincoln both have 4 classes each.
So is third grade?
The second grade going to third grade, which is the smallest number, I believe, has already been.
Correct, and then there is a second one that could be consolidated as well.
First and second grade has not been consolidated to date.
Okay, so that is a possible saving without, for additional savings. And the other thing is I know that the teachers have already taken concessions in their retirement, with their health benefits, but they could possibly approach to instead of taking 100% of what their increases would be, raises versus and steps, they could take 50% of it or 25% of it. Because in a couple of years, if we don't renegotiate these contracts with them, I'm going to fight for the board to give them 0, and that is not what I want. I'm an advocate for the teachers, I always have been, but I'm also, excuse me, if you've been at other meetings, you would hear that I am always the one who says, I don't think teachers' pay cuts should be done. But however, I am a numbers person, and when you're in the service business, and majority of our expenses go to personnel, then eventually those numbers have to be cut. I'm not looking for 100%. I'm asking for a small concession by the teachers in order to deal with it. The teachers that live here, they're either going to get it less in their paycheck or pay more taxes. So it's really, you know, like I said, everybody has to give a little. If I could afford to give the teachers 100% of what they could, I would, but the whole community just cannot afford that anymore.
This is a chart that was shared by Mr. Belmonte early on in February during the budget process. It shows the 5-year progression of salaries in the district. The average over 5 years is 1.85%. If the teachers and other units did nothing, did not negotiate, and took what the Triborough Amendment gave them, it would have been over 2% per year.
And I
so there has been concessions all along.
For years that have taken 0% raises where they work, okay? And that includes myself. So even though I am for the teachers, and I know people are probably not believing me, but the people that know me know I speak the truth, it still comes down to that majority of our expenses lie in personnel. So instead of firing people, why don't we just reduce some of their increases? It's kind of the lesser of two evils. And my last question now, so then I'll stop, is that under the contingency budget, you have listed that an administrative position and support staff will be eliminated. What administrative position will be eliminated?
That has not been decided yet.
Okay.
Thank you. Hold on 1 second. I originally asked that clapping, cheering, please try to refrain from it when an individual asks a question. I would appreciate it. Thank you. We have, no, this lady, wait, I'm sorry. Are those the questions all online? All queuing up?
First of all, I would like to thank all you people. I would just like to thank those who have been magnanimous enough to help us out with your benefits. Thank you very much. So, I have been looking at the financial statements that only recently been put on the website, which we really need to do more timely. Okay? So I haven't had a lot of time to look at them, but I did look quickly. Question. Of the $1.3 million in the tax reserve in the sale of the library building, I noticed last year and this year you've allocated $250,000 to the general fund. In time of fiscal crisis, such as we're in, why can we allocate more than that?
Mr. Belmonte?
I think it was a board decision when we sold the library. The law allows us to smooth the taxes, if you will, over a period of 10 years. So the original plan for that money was to spread it out as long as we possibly can, to take some of the spikes out of the tax rate, and using it all at once today, of course, there'll be nothing left tomorrow.
No, I don't think we've used all of it at once, but maybe we can dip into it in this fiscal crisis. And of course, we're putting together our efficiency plan so that next year we won't have to dip into it because we're going to have a really good efficiency plan for savings. So I think the board should consider taking maybe another $250 from that fund. Okay. My next question is, so I know from the capital fund we're still transferring $500,000 from the capital, from the general fund to the capital fund, but the capital fund expenditures are reduced by, I think, like $300,000 from last year. So why do we need to transfer $500,000 from the general fund?
The way that particular situation works is that the general fund has to fund fully whatever capital project is going to be put in place. So just because we have spent $300,000 in the capital fund, that was the finish and the completion of the Garfield Avenue project. And I believe a little piece of, well, I think that was it for that year. But the $500,000 as we earmarked in the 14-15 budget is going for the specific projects to finish funding the girls' bathroom at Green Avenue, as well as the girls' dugouts at the high school. And that's the funding that goes over to the capital fund. Any monies by law that are not used completely come back to the general fund as into fund revenue.
So at the end of 2014, fiscal year ending June 30, it's possible that there is money in the capital fund that will go back to the general fund?
Any projects that were funded where the money hasn't been spent, yes, that's correct. We have, for instance, this year we had $500,000 on a security project. The entire $500,000 were spent, so there's nothing to bring back to the general fund.
There's nothing this year?
That's correct.
We're pretty certain about that?
I am 100% certain.
Okay.
We do have other people who would like to ask some questions. Can we come back to you? The gentleman is standing in line for quite some time. If you don't mind.
One more quick question.
Okay.
Is it possible, it looked to me last year, our budget expenditures were actually less than actual. Is it possible that when this fiscal year ends, we will have also additional money because our expenditures actually ran less? And has that been taken into account when you calculated this year's budget?
Well, I would hope so that our actual expenses are always under our budget. First of all, a school district, unlike the state, we cannot overexpend our budget. So we work very hard to make sure that we don't necessarily spend everything in the budget, that we look to achieve savings during the year. And if the district didn't do that, if you look at the revenue side of the budget, you wouldn't have that $6.2 million that's currently funding a significant portion of the program. So, that's a result of the fiscal management over the years, and that money going back to the taxpayers.
Okay, really quick.
We're trying to have input as many community members as possible. If you don't mind, we have to get to a couple of other, thank you.
Can I have your name? You didn't state it.
Eric Bombeck, 6 Helen Drive.
Yeah, unless it was a body.
I know the fund balance is supposed to be about 4% of the budget, right? We're looking at a $90 million budget, correct?
Okay, that's what my notes say. Okay.
That's correct. Okay, so that's $3.6 million. We can all do that simple math in our head, right? So obviously the fund balance is more than it needs to be. It's a lot more. And I was at the last meeting, you said we have a big bond that's fallen off the books in 2016 or 17, I believe, about $750,000. So I know the state has come down in certain districts, and I think Sable might be one of them, saying, you guys have way too much money in excess. You're hoarding a lot of cash here. So, I mean, what's your comments on that?
Well, first of all, this is something that I enjoy immensely because it's like classes in session. First of all, the unappropriated fund balance that the district can maintain is up to 4%. That is about $3.5, $3.6 million. That's what we currently finished up on June 30th for the current year. The other monies that you're talking about is what's referred to as reserves, okay? And that's not unrestricted fund balance. That's assigned fund balance for specific purposes. Again, that money got there from fiscal management of the budget. By having those reserves, people need to understand that putting the money and paying for obligations from a reserve takes the burden off the current budget, and it doesn't end up on the tax rate. Now, the fund balance issue, it's a complicated issue. You have assigned fund balance, you have unappropriated fund balance, and then you have a total fund balance. If you look at the total number, you'll say to yourself, yes, it's a very large number, but the district's only allowed to have 4%.
Well, what did the state say about it?
If you look at our 4%, we have 4% in our unappropriated fund balance. In our reserves, we have the appropriate amount of monies. And I'll be happy to, if you'd like to.
I spoke to someone that works for the state controller's office, and she goes around the districts and orders you guys, and she said you guys are just stuffing money in other places. So, you know, like the woman said before me, the sale of the library is $1.3 million.
Well, I don't know why
the bond's coming over the books in 2 years.
I don't know why the controller's office would say that when we've already had years ago a controller's audit, and it came back very well that we were very fiscally responsible.
Well, that was a couple years ago.
And did things. Well, that was the last controller's audit we had. So I don't know why someone from the controller's office would make that comment without auditing Sable or without finding some deficiency in Sable.
Maybe it's coming.
Well, I welcome it. We also have, we not only have the controller's office, but we have extensive external audits that are done by independent auditors as well as internal auditors. And all those audit reports are available for the community to read and to see where we are fiscally and how we were able to support our programs going forward. So, you know, anyone that wants to come and sit and see those, I would welcome that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You took a couple questions from my left side of the room. Any questions from? We have one. Wait, can you please stand so we get your mic? No football, Will.
Good evening, I'm Emily Geiger, and I have a question that I hope Mr. Belmonte can answer. I have called our local elected officials to ask them where the money for the rebates is coming from Albany, and why that money wouldn't be invested into our schools directly so we wouldn't be in this situation. And I haven't gotten Mr. Belmonte, you're on the board, do we know where the rebate money is coming from?
The rebate money is coming directly from the state of New York.
The taxes we're paying is basically being given back to us in rebate.
That is correct. It's part of the New York State budget, and it's going to be distributed through, I believe, the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance.
So I'm going to ask my neighbors to call your local officials and ask why that money wasn't just put into the schools in the form of state aid. And I also would like people to ask why our elected officials would penalize a community who wanted to invest in their public education by piercing the path. We should get arrested.
Thank you again. I'm going to repeat. Let's let the questions be asked and try to keep the applause and cheering down. We have a question. We have a question at the mic.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Tomforti, a West Sable resident and a Cherry parent. And I just have a comment for everyone here, for the board and the administration. And I want to thank you for reassessing the budget. I know that it's not going to make everyone happy. There's nothing to be cut that can make everyone everywhere happy. But I know a lot of people in here are happy right now. I know all the emails, the letters, the Facebook forums, the meetings that people had on one side of the budget or the other side of the budget. They all came together on one thing, and that was to get rid of the Princeton plan because of the community that we have, the schools that we have. I became a Cherry mom 5 years ago. I have 4 kids, 3 that are going to Cherry next year. And when Dr. Simmel was there, we became a Sable family. I can speak for a lot of people here in all of their schools. Now that Dr. Ryan is there, I feel the same way. And I just want to thank you. Like I said, nothing's going to make everyone happy. There are some upset people, but I know there are a lot of happy people that our kids are going to be happy and feel safe where they go next year. So thank you.
Thank you.
A couple of really quick things. One, I'm told that the last OSC audit was 2009. They are supposed to be every 5 years, so hopefully we are having one soon. And at that time, the feedback was not that we were perfect, but that we did have an overcompensated balance for funded absences. Okay, so Debbie had that comment. The other thing is that I think the point that Jennifer was making, and to lend her a little bit of support, is that in this particular case, 100% of the amount needed to pierce the cap, 100% over the cap, was due to salary increases, the step plus across the board increases. And so that's what was driving the feeling that if we couldn't pierce the cap, then we need to have sort of re-examined what is the overall compensation package. And I do applaud everyone for being willing to look back, and if it wasn't in salaries, if it was in healthcare benefits, great, that's awesome. I think the point that lots of people were asking for is that there be a sense of shared sacrifice at this time. The idea that even staying within the cap is an increase in taxes, and that's our part, that's what we have to do, and that there would be no increase in services to students because everything has been salaries and other compensation. There have been no increases to services to students. This coming year, it's just textbooks for social studies for elementary school students. So I think that everybody is doing their part. I still think, and you know, hopefully they'll listen to me, we're not looming, but I think that we still need to revisit it when it's the next time we negotiate contracts. My question is, I have heard rumors that you are going to put in, ask for a vote at some future point in time in the next few months about high school turf fields. Is that happening? That's been the rumor, that you're going to ask us for approval for a bond for turf fields at the high school. Is that accurate?
There is a bond referendum up, and there are multiple items on that bond referendum, and the board hasn't. But the board hasn't given a report by the bond committee who met to discuss these changes. I don't know when that date is when we're meeting with that. Again, it's a proposal, and there are proposals for turf fields in that, as well as many other upgrades to our buildings and grounds, generators, roof, playground equipment, etc. I believe all that information is online, and it's available to the public. No decision has been made on that. The rumor, if you want to call it a rumor, it's not a rumor, it's the truth. There is a bond referendum up. The board has not decided on it as of yet.
When would these referendums be put to a vote?
When the committee meets, we will make a decision when we will put the bond. If we do put the bond referendum, what will be part of that bond? It will be a board decision. There are multiple community members involved with that committee. 25 community members.
John?
Okay. All right.
I'd like to take advantage of the captive audience and just have Mr. Belmonte do a 2-second explanation as to why we bond.
First, I also want to address that you said there was no improvements in programs. We did add 2 special education classes to our district.
Okay, great.
And Mr. Belmonte?
Thank you, Mr. Bernard. Yes, the school district formed a bond committee a couple of months ago to look at those things district-wide that may be in need of replacement capital projects. The reason why we do a bond is because we're able to finance that over a period of years. Why that makes sense fiscally is because you get your state aid, and Sayville still gets 68% building aid, and you get that back over a period of years of the life of a project. So for instance, if you bond a project over 15 years and you have debt service, which is on your expense side, principal and interest, you have an offset up to 68% on your revenue side. Minimal impact to the taxpayer. More importantly, some of the things that we are looking at are structural facility things that have to be done district-wide. One of the major things happens to be the middle school roof, which is in dire need of being replaced. It's a major capital project. You cannot fund a project that size through the budget. It would certainly, the impact of the tax rate would be tremendous. So i.e., you do that through a bond. Things like replacement of boilers. We have boilers in our buildings that are 40, 45 years old. It's incumbent upon us to look at these things to make sure that we can create a safe learning environment for the students here at Salem. So the infrastructure is a very important part of the instructional program as well. And the reason why we're looking at this now is, yes, we have a window of opportunity 2 years down the road where our debt service, just like your mortgage, we fall off over $2 million in debt service. And we're not saying to restore the entire $2 million, but when you sell a bond to a community to do facility upgrades and infrastructure, and you do it the way we are suggesting, you're doing it without increasing the tax burden to the community. Because you're filling that window. You're filling that window of opportunity with some debt. And you're not increasing the taxes or the expenses above your current level where you are. So it makes fiscal sense. We've done this over the last 2 bonds with great success. And at this point, just to finish answering some of your questions, when the bond committee reports to the board will have the ultimate decision as to what to include in the bond, okay, and of course with input from the community, as well as when they may want to present the bond referendum to the community for a vote. A referendum would be presented to the community, and it would have to be approved by the community to be successful.
Thank you, Mr. Belmonte. I have a question to the left, and Will, we have a question on my right and middle. Joel, we'll go here first.
Thank you. My name is Bob Kohler. I've been a resident here for 45, a proud resident for 45 years. Still am. I don't know how much longer that's going to last. But I have to address something that's been rampant lies going through the community.
Sir, could you address the board, please?
There's been rampant lies going through the community. We're not going to get our star rebate. People have talked, Dr. Valente, I've heard her speak many times how the teachers take a freeze, and she hasn't gotten a raise, but that's not true. That's not true. You can go right online and check that out. And that's taxpayer money too. $158,000 in Stony Brook University of taxpayer money from 132. That's personal knowledge. I'm just getting tired of the lies. I feel bad. You know what? I'm sorry. I honestly feel bad for the people that are on fixed incomes. I understand. I get it. People that have lost their job. I get it. We can do anything to help them. I'm all for it. But most stable residents are doing pretty well. And the fact that you can't approve a 2.9% budget is kind of embarrassing. Bayshore pierced the cap last year at 6%, and they supported the cap. So, there's banners put up in town, $800 you're going to lose, ridiculous stuff. You're going to lose your star rebate going out, the ridiculous stuff. So anything the board could do to try to stop this stuff, maybe hire a lawyer to sue people for slander that are saying the board is extorting money. Hey, you got the evidence there? Please present the evidence, please. If not, I implore the board to kind of put these people in line. Because you know what? You guys always present the facts straight up, but these people aren't. So we got to get these people out of the town and bring Salem back to what it used to be.
Again, I've asked, and everyone on this board has been respectful. We've been gentlemen, we've been ladies. We're trying to be respectful of the community. We don't want to turn this meeting into the direction and the tone it may be headed. We appreciate all the input. Let's please respect each other. Let's please respect each other's position. We want to set the tone that all districts should be as good as Sable. And we're better than that. We're better than that. We're better than that right now. Let's please respect each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. So I just want to bring up 1 or 2 points.
this gentleman addressed something that's actually factual, no distortion at all. I mean, there have been numbers thrown around about rebate being $90. I know I pretty much live in a simple house in Sable on a small lot. Our home's never assessed at the value that the budget says, the normal assessed value. As we've discussed before, that basic assessed value has to do with the assessment that shows up most times in town hall for this town, for this town. Not actually the average or median average of all. But more important than that, there's just really one number I wanted to throw out there. Because we could talk about $18 a month, we could talk about people not having money, fixed income people, too much money, people with big raises, small raises. You know what, this is America, people are going to get what they can get. Here's one number that strikes me, brings the heart to me. I own a business, I would crunch numbers all the time. So when I look at the total budget, I divide by the number of students, and I look from kindergarten to age 12th grade, 13 years to educate a child, which a phenomenal job was done. Again, thank you to everybody for the health insurance cuts. But a number that sticks out to me is $400,000 when you do the math to educate one child. If I divide 92 billion by 3,000 whatever children for 13 years, that's $400,000. To me, that seems like a lot.
To me, it's a lot of money too, but I think it is a lot of money. You know, I don't disagree with you.
That's what I mean. That's my point. The big numbers are what's important, not the 18. And just Mr. Belmonte, what you said is true on the bond. There's no increase if the bond is ending and a new one starts. But to the taxpayers, we never get to see the decrease from a bond going away and being in a period without. And I understand it keeps it level, but it would sure be nice to get a period where we see zero or something going backwards instead of even small increases eventually. Thank you. Excuse me? Do you have any children? I have 2 children.
2 children. You're in the closet for a long time. With 4. I thought about that too. I have a friend posed that same question. When you break that down, you pay $20,000 if you $10,000 a year in taxes over 20 years. That's $200,000. If you have 2 kids,
I'm not looking at
their
I'm looking at what the community pays to educate a child. $400,000. Doesn't matter what I'm paying, what I'm benefiting. It's what everybody in the school is responsible.
You had just mentioned that's a key integral part of community. What makes it strong is that everyone invests in an education together. That's
I think without question, Sable does that, has done that, continues to do it, but there's a point where, you know what, it burden just gets a little too heavy.
Thank you, sir. We have a question in the back. Sir, you mind walking in the back?
Hi, my name is Carl Cangelosi. I'd like to start by thanking the board and the administration for all their hard work to put up a transparent, fair, and reasonable budget at 2.99%. And I'd like to also thank the teachers and the staff in the school district for making that concession to make sure that we get under the cap on the second vote. Now, to speak to this gentleman's point, it costs $400,000 if we just do simple back-of-the-envelope calculations to educate a child for 13 years in Sable. The last time I checked for a private university-level education, for 4 years, you're talking upwards of $200,000. So, because of economies of scale and because of the ability of the public sector to streamline, public education is the best deal going. And as a result, we don't talk about the non-monetized costs that go into school districts. The fact that these programs keep kids off the street, that reduce crime. I grew up here, I was born and raised in Sable. And I remember just next door in Bayport growing up, there was a gang problem. There was a rampant drug problem when the school district was on austerity. It affected my family directly. So when you go to vote at the polls, it's not just about the dollars that we were talking about as far as tax rebates. This comes down to long-term costs that affect every taxpayer in the community, whether it's property values, whether it's crime rates. You are making an investment in your community. And I strongly urge that everyone here vote yes this next time around. And the great thing about this process is we have seen democracy enlivened in this community, but it's becoming increasingly visible that we have an element in this community that is bent on austerity, that has ties to TaxPact, and is working behind the scenes to misinform the public. So what I'll ask everyone in this community to do is read the fine print. Look at the source of the information that's being provided to you. The school district has a protocol and has done a good job of sticking to that protocol and making sure the information that you read is on point. And you just have to look at our bond rating to see that. The district's been well managed. It's not perfect, but it's been well managed. When you get a mailing that doesn't have any sources listed, that makes bold claims, you need to ask, where is this coming from? What are the motives of the people behind this? Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
First, before we get started, I'm trying to get to as many people as possible. I apologize. I'm looking all around the room and I'm seeing hands go up. We will get to you. I apologize if I'm not ignoring you. Of course, I'm getting kicked underneath the table here that I shouldn't be ignoring. So, I'm sorry, we'll get to you next. Thank you.
As I was the only person to be called out and insulted and called a liar, and then I was the only person who was permitted to be treated that way, I am going to respond, although I don't think that it deserves a response. But to Mr. Kolar, wherever you are, there you are. If you had something to say to me, you are absolutely welcome to say it directly to me, one-on-one, without the cowardly way of thinking, oh, no, I am going to finish.
This is Dr. Valenti.
Fine, I will address you.
Dr. Valenti,
I am going to address you. You allowed him.
I did not allow him.
The entire board allowed him to speak that way.
I don't have control of the mic. I told the community member to face the board.
You did, and so now I will face the board. If that is your rule, and I am going to face the board. And I am going to tell you that what he chose to say was false. He may have thought he was telling the truth. He was not telling the truth. And so for everybody in this room, especially those who thought that it was proper and civil and part of a community to clap at what you did not know was false. I, number one, do not get paid $1 in taxpayer money because what I do at the university is called an auxiliary enterprise. It is fee-based and it is not part of the taxpayer dollars. Number one. Because you're right. You're right, it is about the budget. But when someone gets treated the way that I was treated in an uncivil manner, you allowed it to happen. That was not. You did allow it to happen. You did allow it to happen.
I told Mr. Kolar a number of times to face the board and address the board. I didn't get up out of my seat. I didn't get up out of my seat to stop him. I agree with you that.
You listened well.
Thank you.
Make it faster.
Again, that's not. I'm trying here. I really am trying here. If anyone has been to a Common Core hearing with John King, this is not what this meeting is going to turn into. It's not going to happen. I respect and expect everybody here, regardless of your feelings, to respect each other, your neighbors. Please. I understand, we understand, there's some very, I don't even know what words to describe this, but let's please keep it civil. I'm asking you all, there's children in the audience, there's adults. These are our neighbors, these are our community members. We are better than this. News 12 is here. Let's not give them a story on how uncivil we are. Let's keep it polite, please.
Hi. My name is Lori Ruthrig. My daughter is in 3rd grade. And since prior to her starting school, I've been coming to meetings, and I've been listening to how there needs to be cuts made for the children. We may lose kindergarten. We're going to have to take away the sports. We're going to have to take away this. It's been 4 years now that I've been listening to this. And I'm at that point now where I'm so disgusted and disappointed with the fact that every time we come up to a new year with a new budget, oh, it's a big surprise, we're short money. At some point, I think we need to be a little bit more proactive and start looking even more forward into our children's future. And instead of constantly saying how we're going to take away from our children, I'm sorry, I think somewhere along the line you forgot that you are civil servants. You serve us. You serve our children. At one point, you used to become a civil servant because you wanted a pension and you wanted medical benefits. Somewhere along the line, your pay became astronomical. You have everything handed to you now. And you don't even work, you have holidays off, you have vacations. I am a civil servant myself. I have accepted 0% increase many years. Too many years. But you know what? I accept that because I have a pension and because I have fantastic medical. So I'm willing to accept 0%. But it's getting very difficult for me to live here in Sado. When I'm getting 0% and you're not. Mr. Belmonte, I believe he makes $246,000 a year. Oh, 320? I'm sorry. Okay, 320 plus benefits, medical, retirement. Dr. Sharner. I'll go with 246. Dr. Sharner, it's my understanding that you've received $5,000 increase in your pay for the last 3 years in a row.
That's not true.
And I believe you make, what, 240 a year? Or 235 a year. All right, irregardless, you're making over $200,000. None of you are starving. You're saying, let's take away from the kids. Lead by example. Why don't we start at the top and work our way down? And I understand, and I've been hearing how you're all making sacrifices. And granted, you have a hard job, and I appreciate everything you do. But I'm constantly hearing the sacrifices you make. I think you can make some more. None of you are starving. Lead by example. Stop taking away from the kids.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I just want to ask one quick question. You said you're in civil service, right? How long have you been doing that job for, may I ask? 20 years. 20 years. Dr. Sharton has been in this district for almost 40 years doing this for our kids, okay? And with a ton of experience and a doctor's degree. So all that money that is so astronomical, if you look at a CEO in any private entity, they're going to be making a lot more than that.
Again, let's. We have a question. I'm sorry, I'll get to the young lady in the back. We had one. Stand up, please. Can we get her a mic, please?
Please be calm.
My name is Tony Greaves, and I'm a freshman attending Sable High School. And like many others, I've heard so much about the recently failed budget, and I'd just like to say that it's just like really incredible to me that it's failed. I know that I'm only 15, but I kind of want to share my opinion about the matter just because it's really important to me as a member of the school. I said before that I'm really just disappointed, really, that it failed, but because I'm involved in some of the suffering programs. I understand that you all think cutting the programs may be the best thing, but in reality it's causing a lot of suffering for the students attending school here, including myself. The music program and the art program, along with several others, could possibly become non-existent next year, and I find it completely unfair and devastating to the children enrolled in the programs. Taking away music from a child who's going to become a musician and going to school for that is like taking away math from a student going to school to become an accountant. I mean, not all kids are academic scholars, and we're not all going to get into college of our dreams with just our academic achievements. Some of us need scholarships into college. And I'm not saying that we all don't try our hardest in school, but certain things don't come easy to everyone, and we need these other programs to help us achieve our goals. Not all kids are geniuses when it comes to the academic world, but they're geniuses in a different area of their school life. And don't you think we should let them be a genius where they are one instead of forcing them to become a genius where they're not? I mean, if a child is maintaining an extremely high average, great for them, but if they're not, they might be progressing somewhere else. They might be breaking their school record for a sport, or maybe they're excelling in the arts, but whatever they're doing, shouldn't we let them do it without them fearing that they might not be able to do that a year from now? These classes and activities give us a chance not only to express ourselves, but to be free and at peace. These are the classes that teach us the most about ourselves, and the classes where we can find ourselves. Art and music are expressions of who we are and our feelings and ideas. They're the only classes where we can truly express our opinions and feelings about something. And I think it's so important to be able to do that. What we think and feel is basically irrelevant today as long as we fit into society's equation for perfection. Be perfect. That's all kids hear these days. And in art and music, we don't have to be perfect. We can be us. Sports are something different, but something also severely needed by students. Yeah, they're demanding and a lot of hard work, but they allow us to learn discipline, and that hard work really does pay off. They teach us the meaning of being there for each other and the idea of togetherness. Our teammates become some of our best friends, and our coaches become our teachers. They don't just teach us techniques required for the sport, but there are so many other lessons you learn from your coaches that don't and succeed in the sport, but also help you to succeed in life. It's a shame to watch our coaches and teachers leaving right before your eyes, leaving before they can finish teaching us all we have to learn, before they've even started. In the end, really, who's losing? The answer is us. The students are losing out. We're losing out on scholarships, and we're losing out on being happy. We're deprived of the things we love doing and the things that make us want to go to school. Without these programs, I can honestly say I really won't be able to go to school and be happy. I honestly think it's just selfish and greedy to take away the things that we love because, I mean, we love them and we want them in our school lives. Let's just really be real here and think logically for a little bit. And, I mean, don't you think that instead of cutting the things that are important to the children, you could cut something else? I know that for transportation alone, we spend over $3 million for that, so why don't we just cut the buses? My family and I have been living without buses for over 7 years, and I did manage to get myself to school, so I'm pretty sure everyone else can manage without the buses as well. I've done it for years now, and I'm pretty sure everyone else can too. I know that you all don't like the idea of keeping the programs, but don't you think you should be doing what's best for the kids? I mean, I hate to break it to you, but we are the future, all of us, from kindergartners to seniors in high school. We're all the future, and don't we deserve the best? Don't you think that the budget should benefit us over you? I mean, for all it's worth, we are the ones who have to deal with the effects. Don't you think that we deserve to acquire the best education we can have? Don't you think that we should be able to do what makes us happy? Don't you think that we deserve the best chance to succeed in life? Don't you think that we should have the ability to achieve success where we are capable of it? Don't you think that your future deserves a future? Don't we deserve a future?
First of all, we're not cutting any art or music. We're not cutting any sports. Under a tax cap, however, we need to be more efficient. And we'll get input from the community, as I stated in the beginning, on moving forward. And to show our 1% efficiencies, so we're eligible for the governor's second year of his tax rebate. However, the reason why you hear art and music are they're not state mandated areas, as well as sports, as well as kindergarten isn't state mandated. Albany can send $300 million to New York City to fund pre-kindergarten, and it doesn't send funds for K-12 programs on Long Island. That's the issue. And we will discuss that certainly before Election Day, too.
We have a question. I see a hand. Please stand. No, are there questions on this side? Okay. Lisa was waiting for some time. Oh, you guys are up? We'll get to you next, sir. Say your name right.
My name is Lisa Walker. I'm a Sable resident, proud Cherry parent. I just had a quick question. Keith, you had said that we're still 500,000 over.
No.
No, we're not. I'm
I
sorry, I
said at the
misunderstood.
beginning that we cut those programs, the coaches, the secondary, summer school, thank you. We cut those programs, it's $583,000. But I had said, to keep that in would be that much over. I would like to keep that in. Obviously, that people spoke differently last year.
But if you keep that in, then what is the percentage rate over the cap that we're at, and what does that break down to a dollar
Well,
figure?
that would be fine if we can have this 60%. Could you imagine if that 60% was reversed? Woo, people would be going crazy, wouldn't they? But we have this non-democratic situation where we have to get a 60%. If it wasn't that, we would put it up, no problems, and this community, I know, would pass it by 50%. I really would. But now, we are taking that out as well. To answer your question, yes, that's out as well, unfortunately.
And did the board consider going into the reserve for any of these funds?
We're already using 4.6% of our 4% reserve.
Okay.
It's already in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to the left over here. I'm going to take a couple of questions from this side because I haven't been... Oh, I'm sorry. I told the gentleman first, then I'll get to you now.
Good evening. My name is Steve Babcock. I'm a Sunrise parent. I just want to again express, as many had before, my support of the decisions and the recommendations that have been made by this board, specifically concerning the Princeton plan, also with kindergarten. Mr. Barone, as you had said earlier, the vast majority of young families who come to this community do so because of the quality of the education that exists here. The vast majority of people who grew up here stay here because of the quality of education that exists here. That's not an accident. That's hard work that starts with the parents, that works with the teachers, that works everybody collectively working for the children. My fear over the coming weeks leading up to this vote is that the children's education will become a political football that will be passed and kicked around without any regard for what it actually needs. Dr. Shartner, you had said earlier you had spent a lifetime building something, and I think we all agree you don't make drastic changes to a system that is not fundamentally flawed or broken. You don't burden the village to the ground just because there's a pothole on Main Street. I think we can all attest and agree to that. The impact that these decisions will have on our children, not only keeping them in a place where they're safe and they can learn, where they have relationships, it also impacts the family directly and how they will continue to support education here. Keith, you had said earlier, I think collectively, the members of this board and the people in this room, we have the wherewithal to find this money. It should not come out of the classroom. We can find this money. And over the next several weeks, my fear and my hope is that common sense will be the guide, and it will not just come down to dollars and cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
surprise the board, I'm not going to tell you. I think we all know pretty much how we're going to vote. I've heard the pros and the cons, some are good, some are not so good, some are fair, some are ugly. And that's it. I've had enough of the yeses and noes. I know what I'm going to do. However, there are two things I'd like to talk about or discuss. Let me discuss, mention. One, in both the companies. I saw the parade Memorial Day. Your middle school band teacher is a precious, precious person. Those young people, they marched. They looked good. And the band very good. Those shirts that they wear, starch them, never look good. But that's, I've gotten used to it this year. But they should learn to march. Memorial Day is for those who fought and died for this country, so we can sit here and argue back and forth. And these young people should be taught when they march, it isn't just a game, but you're doing it for people who have given their lives and are still giving their lives. Next year, I'm hoping when I see that high school girl, that they will learn to march.
I think we'll get you some tickets for them, bro.
Maybe they
Next up at the mic.
Hi, how are you? My name is Monique Dassault. I'm a lifelong resident. I'm also a
Can you say your name again, please?
Monique, M-O-N-I-Q-U-E, D-U-S-S-A-U-L-T.
Thank you.
As I've been doing since my precious third grade teacher, Mrs. Grunke. Okay? Anyways, too close? No, sir. Okay, I'm a state employee, proud member of PEF. I understand the union's goings on. You seem to find a lot of savings in your health plan. How often are you allowed to bid? What other cohorts are you bidding with? Are the statistics and the plans available online as far as your trend? Spent 23 years in healthcare. Just wanting to know.
Walter, John? John?
Basically, we have been fortunate over the years to belong to a self-insured plan. And being part of that, we periodically go out and we look at third-party administrators for that plan. And the only other plan or the biggest game in town for government employees is the night shift plan or the Empire plan. And that's the plan that we're looking at right now.
Because that's the plan I'm in.
Okay, and that's the plan that we will be moving to.
But how often is the district required to go out to bid for health plans?
It's not even a, being part of the self-insured consortium, we're actually one of the owners of the plan, and the plan decides that, not necessarily the school district. So we do that because we have managing people from the district, from all the districts that participate. We have
Suffolk County?
No, there's 4 districts that were in that particular plan, and there's a managing person that sits on the board, as well as a labor person from each district.
So my question is, if night shift is so huge, which it is, why are we not doing that as your health plan provider?
Well, because years ago, and if we march down memory lane, the reason why the district left Empire Blue Cross to begin with was because they had huge premium increases, and they were mid-year increases. So at the time, the district did the responsible thing, and they went out and they looked at other plans. And that's when self-insured plans became a big thing within public education. And we ended up in a public self-insured plan that cost less than what the Empire did.
Are those plan benefits available online for the community to review?
if you went on to the Suffolk School Employees Health Plan site, I believe they are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another question on my left.
Hello, my name is Emma Prokesh, and I'm a junior at Sable High School. First, I just wanted to applaud my peer for getting up and speaking in front of all of you, because I can't even tell you how scary it is to get up in front of a room full of adults and try to speak. I just wanted to say that personally I acknowledge that everyone who voted no isn't voting no because they're against the children and all that. I feel like that picture has been painted. But I also acknowledge that that is where the cuts would be made. And it's not easy asking the community for money. It's never easy asking people for money. And I know a lot of you probably don't think I have any credibility in coming up here and speaking. But it's just hard for me to watch my parents worry every year that my brother is not going to have the same opportunities that I did. And I think at a time where we are all worried about something happening to our schools, our community should bind together. And like Mr. Kohler said, we're all fairly well off, and I think if we come together, we can find a way, just at least for this year, to support this budget while we look forward to long-term solutions. So I urge you to reconsider, and I know that's been said a lot, but I just thought that maybe a student perspective could help something. So thank you for listening.
Good evening. My name is Chris Imperato. I'm a proud Sable resident, also a proud United States combat veteran of the United States Army. And I school boards across the state now have been given an opportunity for veterans to have a property tax reduction, which is going to affect the budget. And we were supposed to be part of that resolution by March 1st, and I think we were able to postpone it for a year. And I'd like to know what the board's plan is. Are we going to opt in and give Sable veteran residents a property tax break off their school taxes? And what the plan is on behalf of the board to work with this?
We previously met with the town assessor to discuss the impact on the community. The board does have a scheduled hearing on January 8th, which is what we workshopping, which is what we need to do to inform the public. It's the form we need to have after we communicate with the community. They'll ask their questions, we'll try to answer the questions. The board will make a decision in what direction we will be heading. So January 8th. Now, we took a couple, is there any on? We have one way in the back in the cheap seats.
Hi everyone, good evening.
Can you speak a little louder for us?
Good evening everyone. First I'd like to start off. My name is Cindy. I've been a resident of Sable for about 5 years. My son's in first grade and my daughter will be starting soon, in a couple of years. First I'd like to handle teachers here and do an excellent job. So far, my first 2 years in this education, excellent education. I moved from New York City, so it's a big change for me. It's been nice to be here.
I'm sorry, but the board
You can't hear me? Is that better?
Can't move your head sideways.
Is that better? Okay.
Move your head sideways, you're taking it away from the mic.
Oh, like this? Like this? All right. Sorry.
So many
This is new for me.
microphones. I don't know.
I would like to commend the board and I'd like to commend all of the teachers for an excellent education that I've gotten so far. I'm not going to talk budget. I'm not going to talk salaries because I think that's been talked about enough so far. I know this is a budget meeting. The only thing I guess I would like to know from me, and I don't know about anybody else, but by all the t-shirts in here, I think the biggest thing on the plate is the Princeton plan, which I think the majority of us is just not a big fan of. So from my point of view, I would like to know from an administrative point of view, what the pros are of the Princeton plan and the benefits are to our children, our youngest children, which it really affects, you know, the K through 5th grade. And do those pros outweigh the cons? And I understand budget, I'm a nurse, I work in healthcare, I get it. But do those pros outweigh the cons when it comes to benefiting the children, which, like our wonderful high school students have said, they are the future? And that's really my question.
Under tax cap, we have to look for efficiencies. And the Princeton plan is one way. Now, there are many versions of the Princeton plan. And I think in the scenario moving forward, we are going to bring that to the people in the community to decide. However, there are pros. Most of the pros are efficiencies. In other words, you're grouping kids so you have level class size, you have all the groups together, you have special education services for all the students in the building with that grade level. In 4th and 5th grade, you have a full-time band teacher, a full-time orchestra teacher, a full-time gifted and talented teacher, because they service the 4th and 5th grade. It's something we need to talk about as a group, and we will. There are other avenues. Now, I'm not the prophet bringing on the Princeton plan as an idea. If you look at every like-sized school, in other words, the schools that our sports teams play against, 90% of them have already implemented some sort of Princeton plan. Also, a few of them have half-day kindergarten. And about half of them have an 8-period day at the middle school. All of the things we're just starting to discuss, they've already done. So,
I guess our point is, having a strong school community in the very early years of a child's education is the most important. And I do understand, I think it is beneficial to have all the services for K and first, on that level. I understand that. But from, I guess, a child's point of view and a parent point of view, changing schools every 2 years, having kids in a different school, we're definitely a community where people have 3 to 5 children. I just don't know mentally if it's beneficial. I understand the logistics of it. I think a lot of us do. I think more of us are concerned about how it's going to affect the children, going to a different school every 2 years. Their siblings aren't in the school, getting your kids to school on time. And maybe that doesn't really matter in the mind of budget, I'm not really sure. But I think that is our biggest concern, I feel like. And that's the one thing that we just wish we could take off the plate is the Princeton plan and look at other things. But that's all.
There are other versions I will discuss too.
We have a question on my left, I believe. And there's another one back there.
My name is Hannah Bissell. I've actually lived here less than 2 years. We chose Sayville mostly because of the school. The size of the school, the way that the community is run, it's really impressive. We come from out of state, so we compared it to everywhere on Long Island, not just like-minded, like-sized schools. One of my concerns is you mentioned that the 4th grade in Lincoln Avenue, which now has 4 classes, is going down to 3. And that's putting our class size at 26 students. And I guess I'm wondering how one teacher is going to handle 26 9-year-olds. Have you handled 10 9-year-olds at like a birthday party? I mean, that's what I'm really concerned is whether or not those 26 students are still going to get any level of education. I know cuts have to be made somewhere, but that just seems very drastic to me. Another concern I have is I was heard around the playground that we have 400 less students this year than in previous years. Is that correct?
No.
Oh, enrollment isn't down?
Actually, the enrollment in the high school is up. The middle school is down 8 students. The elementary school is down, I'd be guessing, but it's in the 20s.
Okay, so overall the enrollment is increased then? Is that correct?
It's decreasing overall, but it's small amount. If 82 is accurate, then it's 70 something in the elementary school.
Okay, so
The middle school has a slight decrease. The high school has plus 14.
Okay.
And the elementary school is losing the bulk of the students.
So overall, we have less students this year than last year?
Yes.
So I'm wondering why it's costing more if we have less students that we're serving. I understand it's not one-to-one, but if you're servicing, you're still giving the same services to, if you're servicing 500 students and the cost per student is, simple math, $1, and now you're servicing 480, it should decrease at least some, and it just seems like it's increased. Just the costs in
Well,
general.
first of all, it's a lot less expensive to educate an elementary student than a high school student, because there are many more teachers in a high school student's life. So elementaries,
So even though the
basically where the
enrollment's
decrease
going
is.
down, because
So
I'm trying
the
to...
only way you can affect the change, I'm trying to explain it. The only way you can affect the change in the elementary schools is if all the kids were in one building. That way you could even out and reduce sections.
Okay, I just want to confirm that I understand what you're saying, is that even though it's a decrease in the overall population, that because we still have so many high school students, we've increased high school students, that's where some of the...
It's minimal savings, and we did reduce, we already took out from the first budget, the one retired teacher, we did not replace that position. And now this, the one that you're talking about, the class size being too large, would be the second elementary position.
What kind of support is going to be given those teachers who have 26 students now?
There will be no extra support.
I just think that's an extreme disservice to those 80 students.
It's not the first time that we've had 25 and 26 in the class. We've had 28 in 6th grade classes.
But one of those 80 is mine.
We have a question in the back. We'll get Will.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Liz Delaney. I've been a Sable resident my entire life. This is a barrier that none of us can actually ever really wanted to. I have a concern about the Princeton plan and a suggestion as well. The Princeton plan would require transitions for students from K through 5. That would, by the time they're done with Sable High School, they will have gone through every one of our 5 schools. The children who are in kindergarten right now, if their home school was not their K-1 building, they would actually go through 6. And my concern is those transitions correlate with high school dropout rate, suicide rate, and lower test scores. And there have been studies on that. Dr. Sharp, I think I passed them along to you a couple of years ago. We had a nice little discussion about that. So that's a big concern to me, not just turning a whole community on its ear that we're all rushing around, but those are pretty valid concerns, and I know that those are all, I mean, you all are raising these children, it takes a village. No one wants to hear of any of those things happening here. On another note, a suggestion that I might like to put forward is possibly, since we have so many buildings in this community, some not being used to their fullest potential, maybe we could consolidate and close maybe 99 Greeley, and maybe the offices could be brought into this building or one of the other buildings that we own in the area. That would at least disrupt children's services. I don't know how cost effective that is. That's just a suggestion I came up with on my car ride over. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question on my left, and I'm hoping that, well, if there's any more questions, but we're going to take this question on my left. Is there any other questions? We'll try to limit to 1 or 2 more.
Okay, I hate public speaking. My name is Laura Skelly. I'm a Stable resident. I moved here 9 years ago because... I'm sorry. Laura Skelly. I lived in Sable for 9 years. I have 3 kids who will now go to 3 different schools if we enact Princeton. I understand logistically from a parent, it's something you have to suck up. I know it's not on the table, but next year it may be. So I would like to address the concerns. My concerns are, I taught kindergarten in New York City in an elementary school with 1,500 children. I had 25 5-year-olds in my classroom by myself. It is not easy to teach 5-year-olds to begin with. I spend most of my days telling them, please get in your seat, please don't hit, please don't do this. The education gets lost on that many children. There's no aid support in the city. Here we have wonderful aides that can spend half the day in the classrooms with these kids. We move to that, those numbers increase, and these kids don't get that. And then what happens when they get to middle school and they're taking these tests that the state wants? They don't have a foundation. They have nowhere to go. They have no way to build up. And transitioning at that young age 3 times is huge. Other districts, Harbor Fields, Huntington, Miller Place, all of these other districts that have Princeton have 2 schools. It's K-2 and 3-5. That's one transition at the age of 6 or 7, which is a big difference than asking a 5- and 6-year-old to move. As a teacher, you're spending the first month and a half of the school year teaching them how to behave and structure. If they're moving not only to a new grade and a new teacher, a new building with new people, that's a huge thing you're asking for a child. And I really think that we need to think about that whenever we discuss this plan and the monetary savings that it entails, because as important as money is to everybody, and $18 a month is a big difference to some people, these kids who are going to stay in Sayville and are going to come back to Sayville, which is why I moved here, because all of my friends are Sayville residents that have lived here their whole lives, or moved back after college because it's such a wonderful place to live. These kids aren't going to do that. When I was supposed to move to New Jersey for my husband's job. The second my son found out, he was in 3rd grade at the time, didn't want to go. When we asked him why, where would you want to live? If I could live anywhere in the world, I'd want to live in Sayville. Now, I guarantee you, he's not going to feel that way. That's whether a question, not a question, I don't know if you can address why the 3 transitions, how it works in other schools, because there's only 2, I don't know.
It doesn't need to be 3 transitions. Talk to your PTA president, get part of that, volunteer to be part of that committee, and we'll have discussions and hopefully make the best decisions.
As I understood it, and again, maybe I'm mistaken, but most of the time when the Princeton plan is enacted, it's in order to close a building, in order to save money. We don't have a building to close. We have kids we want to consolidate into bigger classes. Am I wrong?
No, actually, the kindergarten 1st grade, we're trying to keep 21.
Okay.
So that was not the goal.
But again,
I understand the transition piece, I do.
I mean, it might sound like a small thing, but to us, because we're adults and it's easy for us, but it's not for them.
And that's why we need to sit down and have civil conversations with a group of people and make the best decisions we can.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question in the back.
Yeah, how you doing? My name is Bill Greer. My question is directly about the Princeton plan. You're talking about it that it would be something that we as a community would discuss as to whether or not it was going to implement. Is that correct?
I didn't hear your question. Can you just repeat it?
We're talking about the Princeton plan. You're saying that we would discuss it. Is that something that we as a community can say what we want and what we don't want? I personally don't want my daughters being split up.
Okay, well, it's not happening.
I'm glad to hear that. Now, when time goes on and we are thinking about doing this, would that be something again that we could
I apologize, but I can't. Can you just Move up a little further, I can't hear your question.
Yeah, my question is that before we do that plan, would it be that the parents would actually have some input on that?
Yes. Yes.
So it's not happening
Dr.
now?
Schwartner is starting, I'll call it a community focus group, if that's okay. I have a question to my left, and then I have a question over here, and I think that will be the last two questions.
My first question, Scott Serdi. The first question is, how many FTEs are being cut from the budget to meet the tax cap right now?
How many FTEs were cut from the budget?
Not through attrition. How many FTEs are being excess?
How many layoffs?
Yes.
One.
Okay, that's one teacher. That's one less for our children. It's one less person that's dedicated their life to children. Okay? I hope this microphone's too bad. This whole tax cap thing, this is the same community that swallowed 7 and change 2 years ago.
Would you kindly address the board?
I'm sorry. This is the same community that swallowed it, and we couldn't pass 2.99 to save all our programs. I mean, you bought into the governor's sales pitch, okay? And it's embarrassing. It's the first time I've lived here 18 years. First time I'm embarrassed to say Sayville, because the 2.99 means a lot to a lot of people, and that $18 or whatever it is. I mean, it's kids programs. Take away from the kids. All the tax cap has done is created community strife and cut your services but raise your taxes.
Thank you.
One more question.
Hold on, we'll get your mic 1 second, Mr. John.
It's not only a question. I'm Patty Yonkers, I'm a resident, a lifetime resident of Sayville. I don't really need it. Dr. Sharp, could you just please reiterate what you stated initially of what you're proposing to the board? Because I think there's some confusion in this room right now, some latecomers, which is understandable. I think we can clarify some issues.
For next year?
Yes, what you're proposing to the board for the revote.
For this budget is at the tax cap. You will get your governor's bribe to vote for him. You will? I know it's a coincidence it's in the mail in October. It's at the tax levy cap.
Okay, but you said the Princeton plan is off.
The Princeton plan is gone. The half-day kindergarten is gone. The 8-period day at the middle school is gone because of the concessions that the employees made.
The concession you made was the 500,000, the 500,000, the concession made was 500,000 health.
That's correct.
And then on the other sheet, on the plan B that you have here, you said summer school is still on the table.
That's correct.
Eliminating the curriculum leadership is on the table.
That's correct.
With eliminating any positions, clerical, custodial aides, is that on or off?
There's one custodial, one clerical, both by retirement.
Okay. Assistant varsity coaches are on the table.
Yeah, and those things that you mentioned are cut.
Okay. But eliminating all JV and middle school assistant coaches are on.
That was not touched.
Okay. And then you also have for the Plan B section that you have, you're citing there's a decrease in 0.8 FTE as a secondary.
That was not done.
That was not done. Was not done. And FTE
Was not done.
was not done.
There's, again, one elementary teacher.
I'm just reiterating, I just want to make sure that's not my friend. No, I understand that. They would like you to say that those things will happen. I would say that as long as
Mr. John, just can you address the board?
as long as the community votes yes, items that Dr. Sharner just stated will happen in the budget. If you vote no, you will go to contingency or austerity.
That's correct. when we say gone, it's not part of this budget cycle. And I appreciate, I'm sorry, but we're going to take one more question, and the gentleman in the back.
Eliminate all courses above the state-mandated curriculum for the middle school. So the major hit in that is music, because the only requirement in middle school is a half a year of music through your middle school experience. Right now we offer 3 years of music in band, orchestra, and chorus. So that would be the major hit. There would be also technology, all the elective pieces that would be, skills classes, communications, astronomy. It's basically destroying what it took me 16 years to build in 1 year.
Which is very, very sad.
Thank you. In closing, I want to thank the community for coming out tonight. I know some of the questions are very good. We've heard you, we've listened to you. Can you hear me? Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your questions. We appreciate your emails. But before we leave, Before we leave, it would be amiss to not thank my colleagues on the board for doing the work they do, and our administrators, our community, and our staff. Thank you for coming. We're going to have a 5-minute recess. Thank you.